But the one to watch, we shouldn't tell everybody, is Kamala Harris out of California. She used to be the lawyer for Lindsay Lohan, district attorney. She just won her first Senate seat. She's half black and half East Indian. Mother was an immigrant, smart. I said, if they don't destroy her, because they find out who she is, I said, this woman could be the one. She is that smart.
Us voting is connected to who's going to be in office and how they think about criminal justice policy. Who's going to be in office and pay attention to something like the rate of black babies and infant mortality. Who's going to pay attention to the fact that young black men are still at the bottom of the economic ladder in terms of opportunity, much less success and economic health? Who's in office is going to make a difference.
You, meaning Facebook, and I'm going to assume you personally as CEO, became aware in December of 2015 that Dr. Kogan and Cambridge Analytica misappropriated data from 87 million Facebook users. That's 27 months ago that you became, as Facebook, and perhaps you personally became aware. However, a decision was made not to notify the users. So my question is, did anyone at Facebook have a conversation at the time that you became aware of this breach, and have a conversation wherein the decision was made not to contact the users?
Senator, I don't know if there were any conversations at Facebook overall, because I wasn't in a lot of them, but...
on that subject?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what other people discussed.
And the relationship of trust, informing the user about what you know in terms of how their personal information has been misused. And I'm also concerned that when you personally became aware of this, did you or senior leadership do an inquiry to find out who at Facebook had this information, and did they not have a discussion about whether or not the users should be informed back in December of 2015?
Senator, in retrospect, I think we clearly view it as a mistake that we didn't inform people, and we did that based on false information that we thought that the case was closed and that the data had been deleted.
So there was a decision made on that basis not to inform the users, is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. And
but in retrospect, I think that was a mistake, and knowing what we know now, we should have handled a lot of things here differently.
And I appreciate that point. Do you know when that decision was made not to inform the users?
I don't.
Okay. Been many a political campaign that has been run indicating an intention to use the United States Supreme Court as a political tool to end things like the Affordable Care Act, the Voting Rights Act, and campaign finance reform, which makes this conversation a legitimate one in terms of a reasoned concern about whether this nominee has been nominated to fulfill a political agenda as it relates to using that court and the use of that court. As it relates to the 42,000 documents, or 42,000 pages of documents, I find it interesting that we get those documents less than 24 hours before this hearing is scheduled to begin. But it took 57 days for those documents to be vetted before we would even be given those documents. So there's some suggestion that we should be speed readers and read 42,000 pages of documents in about 15 hours, when it took the other side 57 days to review those same documents. So the logic, at least on the math, is not applying. 96% of his record is missing. It is reasonable that we should want to review his entire record, and then we can debate among us the relevance of what is in his record to his nomination. The late Senator Kennedy of Massachusetts called these hearings a Supreme Court nominee's, quote, job interview with the American people. And by that standard, the nominee before us is coming into his job interview with more than 90% of his background hidden. I would think that anyone who wanted to sit on the nation's highest court would be proud of their record and would want the American people to see it. I would think that anyone privileged to be nominated to to the Supreme Court of the United States would want to be confirmed in a process that is not under a cloud, that respects due process. Less than 2 weeks ago, the president's personal lawyer and campaign chairman were each found guilty or pleaded guilty to 8 felonies. The president's personal lawyer, under oath, declared that the president directed him to commit a federal crime. Yet that same president is racing to appoint to a lifetime position on the highest court in our land, a court that very well may decide his legal fate. Judge Kavanaugh, when you and I met in my office, you said, with respect to judicial decisions, that rushed decisions are often bad decisions. I agree with you. I agree with you. And when we are talking about who will sit on the Supreme Court of the United States, I believe your point couldn't be more important. He has since changed his tune, arguing that presidents should not be investigated or held accountable, a position that I am sure is not lost on this president. And I'll close by saying this. We have a system of justice that is symbolized by a statue of a woman holding scales, and she wears a blindfold. Justice wears a blindfold because we have said in the United States of America, under our judicial system, justice should be blind to a person's status. We have said that in our system of justice, justice should be blind to how much money someone has, to what you look like or who you love, to who your parents are and the language they speak. And every Supreme Court justice must understand and uphold that ideal. And sir, should those cases become before you, Judge Kavanaugh, I am concerned whether you would treat every American equally, or instead show allegiance to the political party and the conservative agenda that has shaped and built your career.
Thank you for watching, and subscribe to my channel, and also visit my website at www.weldingandstuff.net. Thank you and have a great day.